Now, whether it's race politics or global warming politics, I've got to say this is a toss-up. Which country is the most extreme? Australia or New Zealand? Now, I reckon the prize might actually now go to New Zealand, I've got to say, especially now that Labor Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has announced farmers will be taxed on the methane emissions of cows and sheep, their farts, their burps, their urine, to save the planet from this greenhouse gas.
No, once finalised, this will put New Zealand on the best possible footing going forward.
I've got no idea how that's going to help New Zealand to tax farmers like no other farmers around the world are being taxed. And as in Holland, farmers there are now protesting against the global warming policies that they say will put farmers out of business and rob us of food.
It's just going to wipe out a huge percentage of the agricultural community. It's going to make what I would call the mum and dad farmers, they're just not going to be able to afford to do it. And then to see all that good arable land converted into what I'd call carbon credits and just planting it in pine trees is just absolutely nuts. It's just a waste of good productivity.
Now, the ominous thing is the Albanese government has also signed up to this international agreement to cut methane emissions, but so far says it won't tax farmers as well. Yet. Winston Peters, New Zealand's former Deputy Prime Minister under Jacinda Ardern, is now speaking out about this and New Zealand's race politics. Gave a good speech to a conference of his New Zealand First Party last week, and he joins me now. Winston Peters, thank you so much for your time. Can I just start, though, I want to talk about your terrific speech last week, but can I first ask you, I just mentioned Bruce Pascoe, and the problem we have of fake Aborigines. It seems to be much bigger than even I thought. Is there a similar problem with race imposters or race shifters they're now being called in New Zealand?
Well, to the extent that if you go to its finest dilution, you can get in this country, because of our age, a person claiming that they've got Maori when they only have one part in 150, 100 and 512. So one part in 512, they can claim that they're Maori. Because you just have to say, I can recite a Maori ancestor. Now, is that person a Maori? Of course they're not. And then you've got variations on that, which suggest that when you have claims that we have 17% of our population who are Maori in New Zealand, that's demonstrably false. But they just keep it up. And it's of no value to those who sincerely believe in, the Maori in the first place.
Now, to your speech, which was a conference of your New Zealand First Party, you're going back into politics. I was struck by two things that you've mentioned in it. One is this ludicrous decision by New Zealand to sign up to this methane accord that's been promoted by US President Joe Biden and actually impose. Unlike us, we've signed up to it too. I mean, this Albanese government is just crazy about this stuff. We've also signed up for it. The difference is that your government's actually going to do something about it.
Well, their claim is they want to be world leading. Now, with the greatest respect, if you're going to be world leading and send your people broke, and I'm not just talking about farmers, but a lot of the provincial communities, the service people, they'll also go broke on this matter. When we have the lowest carbon footprint per cow anywhere in the world, and it's going to be replaced by a cow with a far heavier footprint somewhere else. This sort of virtue signalling, we want to be a world leader, will come at enormous cost to the New Zealand economy. And this is the part of the economy which during COVID saved this country. It's a massive statement of ingratitude. It's virtue signalling, and I do not believe they're going to get away with it.
It's just so extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, as you point out, if you're going to start taxing cows and sheep for what they burp and do at the other end, New Zealand will price itself out of the markets, but people won't stop eating meat overseas. They'll eat someone else's cows and sheep.
Well, it is known that the food required in this world will be in demand by increased 70% in the next 3 decades. And at the very time that's happening, here we are with a government with no mandate to do this, stepping up and making the serious change from what was a negotiated position with the farmers. And at the last moment, they pulled the plug on that and added 2 other things, which will be awfully damaging to our farmers. The hope is, of course, that enough New Zealanders come to their sense, particularly in the provinces, and turn this group out.
Now, Winston Peters, look, I sometimes have trouble, I have to say, deciding which of our two countries is the craziest. Yours under Jacinda Ardern, or ours under various Labor and some Liberal governments, I must say too. We have got our government saying in the budget that was handed down yesterday, net immigration, they're going to ramp it up to an extraordinary 235,000 people a year. 235,000 a year, a small city every year. Your immigration minister has got another plan, which has got the most amazing loophole in it. There, you're going to take skilled immigrants, but as many as will come. There is absolutely no limit to how many skilled immigrants can come to New Zealand, and then under our border arrangements, they can come over to Australia, no problem. How can there be no cap on this?
This is breathtaking stuff. You're quite right. But we've had 3 decades of very unfocused immigration policy, even criticised by the OECD for not bringing in the skilled, but mainly unskilled people. But we've hardly got trying to get on top of our problems with respect to infrastructure, housing, health, education for immigration. And we've just got out of COVID, and they're about to repeat the same terrible mistakes all over again. This is not an anti-immigration stance by me. What we are saying is every wise economy handpicks people to come that the economy needs, not who need the economy. So they come to Australia because Australia needs them, not because they need Australia. And likewise, we should do the same. And you'll never, ever find one country in Asia that doesn't have that view as well.
Absolutely true. I mean, you also have to have an eye for community harmony and whether people integrate, et cetera, and don't form colonies. It sounds, some people think it's very strident to say, but it's absolutely true. Winston Peters, always refreshing to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.